Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Aylin, and today we are going to be doing my August wrap-up. I know that this is super late, but my work schedule has me sleeping super weird and it makes it very hard to film videos. So please be patient with me over the next few months as I try to sort all of this out. But regardless, I thought better late than never. I really like having these to look back on and document what books I read at what point in my life. So I'm excited. Wrap-ups are kind of boring to film, but I had a pretty decent reading month in August, so like I said, I'm pretty excited to actually sit down and talk about these books with you. In the month of August, I managed to read 9 books, which I'm pretty pleased with considering I was in a bit of a funk, and that is also when I started my new job, so reading definitely slowed down. But I'm happy to say in September, we've kind of at least maintained pace. So let's just get started with this because I have a lot of gushing to do and I think maybe a little bit of ranting, but I could be wrong. I actually had a really solid reading month in August. I loved almost everything that I read, but let's just get into it so I can give you all the details and talk to you about it since I haven't done a reading vlog in a really long time. I'm sorry. So the first book that I finished in the month of August was City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. This is a very reflective cover. Oh my goodness. This is the 3rd book in the Mortal Instruments series. I have been doing a reread of them very slowly and I'm trying to read all of the Shadowhunter Chronicles by the end of the year in publication order. Let me tell you, it has been challenging. Either way, I believe I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. It was interesting to reread this because I haven't read it in such a long time and there were so many things that I forgot. A lot of the things that happened in book 2 I thought took place in this one. So that was a very interesting experience. And I won't give spoilers as to anything. If you've never read The Mortal Instruments or any of the Shadowhunter Chronicles, basically book 1 takes place where the main character, Clary, and her best friend, Simon, enter this club called Pandemonium, and Clary witnesses someone unaliving someone else. She's like, hey, you can't do that. And it turns out the person they were murdering is a demon because they are part of this bigger group called Shadowhunters. Clary soon finds out that she is actually a Shadowhunter and her mom has been hiding it from her all these years. So she joins this band of teenagers that are all dressed in black and have weird tattoos all over them and learns more about this world. It's an urban fantasy. This series is set in New York City, and then there are a bunch of spin-off series. One of them is set in Los Angeles, another one is set in London. It's a great time. And I've so been enjoying these, and I got the nice original hardcovers so that I could annotate them. I loved the angst in this one. I thought it was really good, and it was really fun to piece everything together because I had forgotten so much, so it really was like reading it for the first time. The only thing that I will say about this is that I was listening to the audiobook. The audiobooks for The Mortal Instruments and The Infernal Devices, from what I've listened to, all suck and I hate them, but I really enjoy the story, so here we are. The next book that I read was one of my favorite reads of the year so far, and I am, again, so thankful that I read it. I still can't stop thinking about it, and that is Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. This is one of my new favorite books of all time. If I had to give you a list of books that were like me and define my taste to a T, Frederick Bachman as an author would be on there in general, but Anxious People specifically, I think is my new favorite book by him. I loved this. I loved everything that this book had to say. I loved how comical it was. It made me cry multiple times. There's so many things that I highlighted and quotes that I literally think about and remind myself of daily. To say that this left an impact on me is an understatement. This is a story about people. It's specifically a story about people that are idiotic, in that this is a story where, honestly, just a study of humanity disguised as a bank robber hostage drama story. It's really not about the hostage drama at all. As is the case with most of Frederick Bachman's books, this is kind of showing you more about yourself and the people around you and how easy it is to judge other people's situations based on a very minute detail and the very small lens into their life that you are getting, where there's so much more to them than that. And if you just sat with them for like 5 minutes and talked it out, you would have such a deeper appreciation for what's really going on in their life, let alone an hour or a day, etc., etc. It's incredible. You need to go read it. One of my all-time favorite quotes from this book, and just in general now, is, if the grass looks greener on the other side, it's probably because it's full of shit. It's so much more than that, and I can't do it justice. I should honestly just do a book talk about it, because there are so many things that I want to talk about. And that's another thing I really loved about this book, is that it opens up so many conversations and doorways to have harder conversations with people, because the people in this book are having such unique and dynamic conversations with each other. If you read any Frederick Bachman book, read this one. It's so freaking good. So good. The next book that I read was not a new favorite, but that's okay. And that is The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. This was like a 3-star for me. I did a whole video on it, and half of the audio cut out when I uploaded it, which really pissed me off. So if you still want to see that video, let me know, because I worked really freaking hard on it, and I can try to redo it for you guys. I would do that. If you want to watch it, let me know. If you don't, that's fine. But this book was a journey. Basically, if you have no idea and you haven't seen all of the publicity that this book got, this is about our main character, Belly, and her family, specifically her mom and brother, go to Cousins Beach every single summer to visit her mom's best friend and her 2 sons. And Belly has a relationship with both of them, not a romantic relationship. She's had a crush on the older one, Conrad, ever since she was little, and Jeremiah is more of her friend, but Jeremiah has always liked her. And in this one, it's the summer where she like fully became a woman and someone that the boys were actually looking at as a romantic interest and taking that more seriously. Where Jeremiah had always seen her, Conrad finally took notice, and Jeremiah was really vying for her attention. I enjoyed this book. I definitely enjoyed the show more. This book hasn't aged the best, but they did change those things in the show, which I appreciated. The pining and the angst were great. I'm not going to be continuing on with the series because I've found out what happens, and that does not sound like something that I want to read, but I will continue to watch the show. I enjoyed the first third of it. Loved it. The rest of it, it was a little rough. For the book, I will say that I am Team Jeremiah. For the show, Team Conrad. Then I read one of the spiciest romances that I have ever read. It is, I think, probably my favorite smutty romance of all time. That is The Pool Boy by Nikki Sloan. I think I gave this like a 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is an age gap romance. The female protagonist in this is 42 years old and the male protagonist is 24. Both legal, 100%, and it's 100% consensual, but basically I don't remember the characters' names anymore, so I'm sorry. It's Erica and Troy. Don't know how I remembered, but Erica is best friends with Troy's mom, so it's a very taboo romance, which makes it very fun, like aside from the age gap thing. And basically Erica works for this music company to help stars kind of produce their own music and sign them so that they can, continue and have a really successful career. And Troy comes into the picture because he is Erica's pool boy. And while Erica is like working on some things, she discovers that Troy can also sing. So there's that whole like plot line with trying to get him a career in music, because it's always something that's kind of been in the back of his mind, but he didn't want to get his hopes up type thing. I'll be honest, I didn't really care about the other plot with the music, but I did really, really enjoy this romance. I thought it was excellent. And as far as an age gap romance, I liked that I liked the third act conflict and that it made sense. I liked that they communicated really well, and I also really enjoyed that they talked about their ages, but it wasn't, I don't know how to put this in a nice way. All right, I did not say it politely, so I'm going to try to better explain what I was attempting to say, which was that the characters weren't hyper-focused on their age gap, where in some romances that I've read with the age gap, like in The Doctor, which is the first book in the series that I mentioned, it was a little weird how obsessed both of the characters were with the fact that one was so much older than the other, and like the hero in the book was so infatuated with the fact that she was so much younger. Like it felt creepy to me, and obviously not every age gap romance is like that, and I'm trying to say that this one wasn't, but in the first book it was, and it weirded me out a little bit. So I think that is a more polite way of saying what I tried to say but didn't do as eloquently. Sorry if this was still not as eloquent, but I think maybe you understand what I was trying to get at a little bit better now than the way that I had initially worded it. So, yeah, back to the video. Because I went back and read the first book in the series, because this is actually the second book in the series. So I went back and read the first one, and I did not like that one at all. So if you're feeling that way, I would say this one is the best one in the series, because I'm currently reading the third one. I'm not loving that one either. So just read the second one. Just read The Pool Boy. So good. Very, very spicy. I thought that the inclusion of the other plot and then the fact that they actually had meaningful, genuine conversations, while there were like some flirtatious moments woven in throughout those genuine conversations, they were still able to like be people, and it wasn't just sex all the time. But even still, it was very smutty, and I really liked it. I should also mention that the way that they got together is that Erica is divorced because she found her husband cheating on her with his boss. So she's in her backyard tanning, she's topless. Troy comes in to do his pool boy duties, sees her, and they both are like, oh my god, this is awkward. And then some spicy things occur from there. Then I listened to I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. This one has been getting so much hype. I listened to the audiobook, which Jeanette actually narrates herself, and she did a really good job. It was a very hard story to read. Definitely look up content warnings, and if you can get through it, I think it is worthwhile. I'm not going to rate her life story because this is literally her life story, but I did find it fascinating. Obviously, the director and producers being really crappy people is unfortunately not all that surprising to, I think, really anyone anymore. The film industry is just super messed up in general. The part that was definitely the most surprising to me was her home life. Like, I genuinely would have never known that. And as she said in multiple interviews, she freaking earned that title, and good for her for... This is just like a big good for her moment, knowing where she's at now. And I think that if she did choose to write in the future, she could be like really great at that, and I would pick up whatever she writes. But I think she said in multiple interviews that she's considering coming back to acting, which is awesome. Like, again, good for her for reclaiming that if she wants to, because she has spent way too long doing what other people want. And it made me very empathetic toward her, and going forward, how I look at celebrities and like their lives, because like I said, you have no idea. Then I switched it up and I read a graphic novel, and that was Crumbs by Dani Sterling. 100% would recommend this. I have already recommended it in a recommendations video actually, which I'll have linked down below. It's my autumnal graphic novel recommendation video if you're interested. I really, really enjoyed this one. It's about a witch named Ray, and Ray meets Lori, who is a musician and a barista at this cafe that Ray really likes. It's so freaking cute. It's just a slice of life little romance in a little paranormal town. And I loved it. I thought the art style was super cute. I liked our main characters. I liked their romance. It was just a very sweet book, and I will definitely like flip through it and reread it in the future. It was so good. The last physical book that I read in the month of August was Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim, and I believe I have settled on a rating of 4 stars for this one. I'm sorry, Stasia. This one is about our main character, Princess Shiori. Shiori was born with magic, and one day when she discovers that her stepmother has magic of her own, she thinks that she is doing these like really dark, evil things, and she threatens to kind of out her stepmother to her father. When that happens, her stepmother puts a bowl on Shiori's head and makes it so that she is not allowed to speak, and then she turns all 6 of Shiori's brothers into cranes, and she tells Shiori, every word that you speak, one of your brothers will die. And then it's kind of a journey story, which I don't tend to like, which is I think why this book took me so long. It also took me a really long time because Shiori can't talk or her brothers will die for a majority of this book, and the fact that there was very little dialogue that Shiori could truly take part in was very, very frustrating for me to read. So I will pick up the sequel, but I am very apprehensive to do so. I liked the romance in this. The plot twist was interesting, but I also kind of felt cheated in a way, and I'm not gonna give it away or like go into too much detail. I didn't see it coming, but like I said, I did feel a little bit cheated and slighted by it, but maybe that's my bad for not knowing the original story that this is a retelling of. There are dragons in this book, and I kind of wish we had seen more of that, but I think we'll probably see more of that realm in the sequel, which I believe is the finale. So I am going to read the sequel. I did give this one 4 stars. It wasn't a bad book, but I had high hopes and I felt a bit disappointed by it, unfortunately. Then lastly, we have 2 more audiobooks. So the first one was In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This one is a mystery thriller about this woman who is going to her high school reunion, and she's obsessed with being perfect and kind of getting revenge on her like high school friends as well as just like regular classmates. She wants to be noticed as this person who has become super successful, still looks very beautiful, and has aged better than everyone, essentially. Or was it college? It was college. At their college reunion, she meets up with a group of her friends, and they discuss the fact that one of them is not there because he is rumored to have unalived one of their other friends in their college friend group. How many times can I say friends in one sentence? Pretty impressive, right? Everybody thinks that this guy did it, and throughout the night of their college reunion, it is kind of unraveled by all of the friends as well as the brother of the deceased what really happened that night, who really did it. And it kind of just goes by each person's account of where they were and then what happened after that, and following up with the next person, and etc, etc, etc. I enjoyed this one. It was good. I gave it a 3.75. It is memorable. I saw the thing that happened in the epilogue coming. That wasn't super surprising to me. The other twists and turns throughout the book were surprising to me. So then the epilogue happened and I was like, really? We couldn't have just left it? Like, it was shocking, but not. So if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about, obviously, and I feel like saying that there are twists and turns is not surprising, nor is it a spoiler to say that there's a twist in the epilogue, because what's the point of the epilogue if it's not going to have some sort of a twist when it's a mystery thriller? Not one that I want to own or like feel compelled to talk too much about. It was fine. Not a bad listening experience. And I would pick up more from this author again. If you're looking for a good, quick mystery that is going to grab your attention and keep it, I think that this is great. Then I listened to The Prospect by Lyssa Kay Adams. I was on Scribd and I looked up Lyssa Kay Adams' name for audiobooks because I was looking for the romance book club specifically, and those audiobooks are not on there. But this one was, and it's the first book in the Long Ball Boys series, I think is the name of the series, which is a little unfortunate, but it's about our main character who is like a cook at this like country club essentially, where this baseball team comes every single summer. This college baseball star who has potentially been drafted for professional baseball. He suffered an injury, so he's playing with this team for one last summer and thinks that he's not really going to get scouted anymore and that his career is not going to take off, and he's just kind of hiding there, and it's a romance between those two. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it like a 4 stars. It was a really good romance. It had me smiling, and I think that Liz K. Adams might be one of my favorite romance authors of all time, and this just kind of helped solidify that because I have now caught up with the Bromance Book Club series, and I really enjoyed those books, but I wanted to read something outside of that as well to make sure it's like not just that series and it's a kind of one-off thing. But I loved it. I loved the banter in here. The third act conflict was a little bit annoying, but it wasn't terrible, and it had me smiling. So really enjoyed this one. Those were all of the 9 books that I read in August. Like I said, a pretty solid reading month. I was very happy once I reflected on all of my reading. Let me know in the comments what you read in the month of August, or if you have read any of these books, if you're going to read them and put them on your TBR. Anxious people. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you're doing well reading, mentally and otherwise, and I really hope to see you all in my next video. Bye guys.